Hi, Donny.
Dee, can you see behind me?
I can see behind you.
So
That looks
this
awesome.
this is Australia's. There's two of the best tropical farms pretty much in the world. I believe the farmer believes it as well. But there's probably about 40 different varieties of tropical fruit trees that you will not find in the fruit
Wow.
shop. So we're just out, like this guy sends the stuff. So we're out right now, and yeah, just
So,
meeting
so
them,
this is
staying like see that's the cottages. That's where they
awesome.
are. It's just ridiculous.
And so,
It's
what
like,
you can people can actually go there and sort of just stay there and experience the farm, or is this
well,
because
yeah,
you're
no,
in that sort of industry?
no, yeah. So 50% of the farm comes to my business,
That's
and then
awesome.
I sell a tropical fruit. That's the
That's
name of my
amazing.
shirt.
Yep,
Anyway,
Insta fruit.
yeah,
Well, I actually need to come and get some fruit from you anyway.
yo, man, anytime. You know
I'm
that.
trying to get my kids to get onto eating more fruit.
Yeah,
So
well, come visit me anytime.
obviously today we're going to talk about the children and
Hmm.
everything that's been going on, what you've been involved in for quite a few years, what
Sure.
have been a part of. And so you're one of the people that I first thought of when I wanted to talk about this, because I've known you for such a long time. And even back then, can you hear me? Yep, got you.
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Even back then when I very first met you, you were part of the church and you're all about the kids, and you would, that's how you and I first met,
Yeah, I remember.
really. um
I remember. Yeah.
yeah, so talk to me, tell me, how did you get into this? You were telling me the story earlier before, but because we sort of got broken up a little bit, tell
Yep.
me and the viewers, what made you get into this, because this is a pretty intense
It
field
absolutely
to get
is.
into.
Absolutely is. So, just being like a regular guy, I was 23 years old. I got involved. I got involved in church. I was just a youth leader. I took a step of faith. Had about 70 kids in the first year, and then I used to like the problems they used to bring me. It sounds crazy, but I just felt like I was a man for the job. That was that gift.
Yeah.
Then a friend of mine was working in youth working, and we are kind of both in the same field before. We liked the retail thing. Both sold sneakers and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, we always got along with kids. He started youth working, had this real crazy kid, and then said, "Man, you know what? You need to meet this. I meet this kid." So I met him just on a social level, just like a little game of basketball, and he was just wild, like absolutely lawless. And I wanted to be around that. It sounds so bizarre, but I think that when you're gifted to do something, it's easy for you, and you have energy and effort. But for somebody else, it's like, get me away.
Yeah.
And I started working with this kid as a youth worker. There was 4 adults in the house.
I totally get that. Yeah, that's almost like
Yeah, it just landed. Anyway,
yep,
it turns out this young kid, you always want to find out. Like for me, I was always intrigued about the damage. And just to give you a little story on
yep.
this kid, his first cousin was when I was working with this. I mean, he was 11 years old. His first cousin was in jail for double homicide, and his uncle was as well. Both committed the crime separately, about 2 or 3 years apart. So he had that lineage. It was really bad. Anyway,
Yep, yep.
his mum would feed him Drano in his bottle. He would drink it, obviously she'd create the pain, and then he would then scream out to his mum, and she'd get the love that she wanted.
Oh my
Now,
God.
now the problem is that his mum was she was a psych. Uh, let's just say, like, I'm not going to go too far into it, but she was a psych that knew better, if I can say it like that.
Wow.
So and that's and
And
that's yep.
that's
Sorry, go.
common, like I'm finding that that's quite common. I mean, there's so many levels to this whole, topic. I mean, we've got
Yeah.
right extreme to, people, children that are getting bred, parents loving to hurt children or torture their children for that.
Yeah. Bad,
It is bad.
bad, man. So, am I still okay?
Yeah,
So
you're
I
still good.
kind of, and then what happened is that when I started working with them, see the Department of Child Health and Safety back then, docs, we would write reports. My managers would write reports, and they would always hear. I mean, this guy had probably about, he was 11 years old, had about 8 placement breakdowns already. So that means, you're just a number. So the kid comes
Wow.
along and he just, obviously he was taken off the family and whatnot. Anyway, so they were really impressed that he stopped smashing houses up. So then I kind of became good at, changing their belief system, if I could say that. I'm not saying I was
Helping them.
trying to, yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't pushing them to go to church. It was just more creating a belonging. And I think that when you're Lebanese, you have that culture and you kind of know how to make people feel welcome. Anyway, so the department then hired me as their guy to help take kids off families for the first time, because I was really quick off the market, making them feel comfortable, as strange as that sounds. So then the department would take them off. And
how was that for you though? Like how, because you're a parent now, okay, how was it for you taking a child from their home? Like what did that stir up any emotion in you?
straight up, I felt like the hero because, and I'm going to say this loud and clear to every single listener, that the sexual abuse in kids in Australia, especially Queensland, is as high as that mountain I'm looking at. So with me,
Yeah.
I wanted to get the stepfather, uncle, brother, away from that kid. So when I took them off him, I would use my own money to take him to Dreamworld. Take him as I would
Wow.
literally, they would go from that kind of damage to, and what the crazy thing is,
Being
D?
loved.
Yeah, that's right. After all these years of working with broken kids in the worst circumstances, all they wanted was a
Is
belonging.
love.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. The breakfast table, the dinner table, the movie nights. It's all they wanted to be around. They didn't want everything fancy and fast. They just wanted that placement for their identity to belong. That's all they wanted. And yeah, so it was. I mean, I was on hundreds of kids by the end of that kind of side of my career. I ended up.
So
Yeah, sorry, go.
do you still, have you kept in touch with some of these children over the years?
I would say most of them would be on drugs, suicided. Not many of them they just vanish. You don't really hear from them. They just vanish. And what I mean by that is, I've got a friend of mine who's in the industry currently now. Probably out of all the probably 200 plus kids we work with, there might be 3 that we know of. And one of them's
Wow.
actually part of your service right now. Because I mean, what are you supposed to do? That their life goes on pause. There's nothing normal about how they are raised. I know there's one circumstance where 14-year-old brother, 12-year-old sister, and 7-year-old sister, and the parents were doing the most atrocious, disgusting crap where they were swapping and whatnot. Anyway, I hired a mate of mine who's a Christian buddy of mine, great guy, awesome family. I trained him up. This family had come in, these brothers and sisters had come in. They were in a service that was happening to, so they were taking off the family, and then the service was doing it. There was a guy that was hurting them as well. We got him over.
Interesting you bring that up.
Yep. So,
well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I'm not sure if everybody's aware of this or not, but the Catholic Pope's obviously been arrested for pedophilia and a whole heap of trafficking charges. But there's also another church here in Australia, and I believe it's a worldwide church. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, it'll come back to me. But the CEO of that particular church here is also, you've just been convicted of the same thing. So it's funny. This happens in schools, in churches. It happens in the system itself, where we're removing children. And it's horrible. People don't realize how serious and how big of a problem this really is.
Yeah. Yeah, D, and back to that story, which is crazy. They were let down. The system let them down 20-fold. when they came to us, the only thing I mean, the sister was looking for the brother, if you know what I'm saying. They were looking for each other to do what mum and dad showed them. So it was, and the reason I'm mentioning this story is that it's that bad. It's so bad out there, and no one wants to talk about it. You know, I'd come back, my cousins are developers, and this guy's got a restaurant, this guy's got a business. You bring it up over a meal, and everyone's like dead quiet. So then you get people like Danielle and me that we will look down the barrel and say, "Yo, this stops right now." And that's why I'm talking to you, D, because I can feel that you're bringing the axe down.
This is such an important thing for me. I think probably because I became a parent, I became a mum. I now see the world very differently. And as a protector, I have to expose myself to the reality of what's going on. And I can't think of a child who just wants to be loved and nurtured to go through anything like this. And the fact that the world was so shut down from this and so removed, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, this is the real issue in the world, this one.
I mean, Coca-Cola's not the most traded as children. I mean, the sex trade it's up there with oil. I mean, it's so bad. But if you don't mind me saying, I met up with a friend of mine who I knew before he was a cop. He was in charge of the North of Brisbane sex crime unit, and he only dealt with sexual abuse basically. And he said to me, "Donny, every time you drive past a Woolies or a Coles, put in your head there's 20 in that area that look at your child, yes, your child, like a normal bloke is looking at a hot girl in a bikini running up and down the beach. They are literally
100% everywhere."
Absolutely. So that perversion is it's. So I mean,
you can't take your kids to the beach anymore. Like, I let my kids run around naked. They're 1 and 2, and I can't do that anymore because I know on that beach there's people staring at them, probably taking photos to upload to the dark web. Parents don't realize how serious this really, really is. And I can't walk down the street without checking everybody around me and thinking, I can't help it because I know better, So I'm glad you brought that up, that people need to know that. But even police officers are saying this to people. Like, this is serious stuff.
And D, one of the last kids I worked with, I think it was the second last kid I worked with, his stepfather and uncle and older brother used him as a scout. So they would go, "Mate, here's $100, go buy cigarettes, go to the skate park, bring him back to us." That's exactly how he was abused himself. And it was a little reward game, and he knew nothing else. And I can't tell you, never let your child out of your sight, number one. Never let him sleep over. I know the parents. They've been over for a barbecue 3 times.
Yeah.
Sleepovers do not exist. And I'm sorry to say it for any stepfathers out there. I'm not judging you, and it's not you. But stepfathers is a great entry point for these pigs.
I know that there's a lot of, people don't realize single mothers are a big target because all of a sudden, these men, they prey on these women who have children. They come in, "Let me take care of you. Oh my God, I'm such a great guy." And these women think that, "Oh my God, I found my knight in shining armor," without realizing they've just brought in a whole new person they don't know anything about, and they don't know what's happening with their child. So, it's a real concern for a lot of women out there. And I guess what's happening in the world is to sort of, break down the family unit.
So why can't the woman ring up the cop, or why can't they be named? Why can't the girl who likes this guy is about to come into the family, why can't she ring someone to type it in? Is he a registered sex offender? Why can't she find that? But D, I'm asking you, why can't she find that out?
Well, a couple of things. One, because our own government here doesn't want to disclose the names of registered offenders. That's the entire issue we've got going on in our local government here in Australia. They don't want to disclose that to the public, which is really disturbing because I want to know in my neighbourhood or in my city who these people are. I want to see their faces. I have every right to protect my child. But our government thinks that it's better to protect them because they're afraid of what the public will do to them.
Yeah.
So it's better to protect them than to protect the children.
Disgusting, man. And
Disgusting.
that I mean, I exited out of youth working. Obviously, I still coach kids. I'm still in kids' lives. Because I spent so many years doing it, I have my friends that bring me their kids when they're in trouble. So, I got a really good view on how to raise my own kids. And, look, on planet Earth, the most precious thing that God ever placed is children, period. There's nothing left and right of what I just said. That is God's number one gift to mankind is children. So, what's happening to them worldwide, it has to stop. Now, I'm saying that like, it sounds cliche, or it sounds like, okay, here's another guy saying it has to stop. Well, this is how it stops. They have to be named. There needs to be a way that a mother can protect your children. She shouldn't have to find out when she opens the bedroom up or when the kid confesses it, It has to be stopped. And another thing too, I think that I think fueling the fire. Sorry, yeah, go. You're right, D.
No, you're right. Keep going.
Fueling the fire is pornography. So I think that there's got to be something when, as soon as this person types in.
I was just going to say, Yep.
Gotcha.
Oh, you're back. Yep. As soon as the person types it in,
they it needs to be bang like that. It needs to be like Microsoft, whoever. You buy a computer as soon as you type in, and they already know what they're typing in. You know what I mean? They already know it. It's like, it needs to be. How can we run a red light and a camera flashes in the middle of the night? You're doing 110, 10 over, flash, and they send you the bill to your own home. But some guy can type in whatever, and it's, oh yeah, we busted him after 7. There was some guy in Queensland Uni, 9,000 images, and I think 60% of them were kids under the age of 3, and he got to suspend the sentence.
Just the other day, there was a school principal from a school here in Barden who got arrested. It was just by luck that they caught him because he had something like some 6,000 images or whatever it was of child pornography on his computer.
Wow.
And he was caught putting that's in a school here in Barden, in our own backyard, our neighborhoods. People don't realize this is happening on such a grand scale. And what upsets me as a mother, and I say this all the time on my personal Instagram, parents, you have to understand, every time you're posting a photo of your child, whether it's newborn, in a nappy, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, whatever it is, you're posting a photo, you're opening yourself up for people to jump on their screenshot, know where you are, they do homework with who your friends are, where they go, where they hang out, and they hunt you down for your kids. This is the reality of it.
My 3rd year into youth working at that real high level, a young kid under the age of 4, like preferably boy or girl, in terms of that age, they would take a photo if they're at South Bank, and on the dark web was worth about $500.
Wow.
That's what they do. So that's what I'm saying. So you know what? Where can we go? It needs to be on high alert. Everywhere that kids go, there needs to be some sort of, sounds really crazy, but playgrounds need to be governed. The internet needs definitely be governed, and they need to formulate a syringe to give these pedos so they absolutely have no feeling in that area at all. I can't talk bullet.
Me. You can't talk bullet. That's okay. I'm not into the bullet. I would just cut that part off. They can still live and breathe, but just cut that part off.
Yeah.
But
D, it's a monster.
To be honest with you, because what they do to children is absolutely unacceptable.
It's got to stop.
Yeah. It's the demon. Demonic even, talking about this, as you know, this is my most important topic of all time. I mean, my entire purpose now is to talk about this, to talk about it, because we all need to talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we educate, the more we know. As a community, we can make a stop. But if we are too busy, or we don't want to know because it's too gruesome or too difficult, well, this is why this continues on.
You know what? There was this thing that was made up to keep these youngsters accountable. And it was, I mean, there's a few of them now, but let's say you're my mate, okay? And I've got a problem with pornography. As soon as I type in anything linked to what they call an adult site, you get an email saying exactly where I am, what I looked up, and then you ring up, hey mate, what are you doing? Why can't they have it? Like, why can't they? Okay, they're convicted, they get out of jail. That needs to be a absolute, mate. You can't even get in the net without, having. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, technology is unbelievable. I'm in Cape Tribulation, North Queensland, in a tropical.
I agree with you.
I'm talking on the phone. They can do this.
Oh, listen, we can go into space. I'm sure we could come up with some sort of, system that prevents this from happening. The problem is that it's one of the biggest industries in the world. It's a money-making industry. And so, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the elitist of the world, the people with all the money in the world, they don't want it to stop because they're making money off it. So, and this is what people don't realize. Our own governments, the Australian government, has 28 convicted known pedophiles listed, and we have a 90-year suppression order to keep those names a secret, which is currently in Parliament House, going through courts to try and lift that. I've been sending out the petitions for everybody to sign, because what, that's disturbing to me. We have one Prime Minister that has been named, John Howard, as a convicted pedophile, and we are still yet to find out the other names of the other 28 people.
That's full on.
That's in our own government. So these people who are controlling us, putting these things in place about COVID and vaccines, whatever, they're a part of something that's so much more dangerous. And yet we're talking about, putting masks on and shutting businesses down. This is mind-boggling to me. Yeah,
we're in the craziest times ever. Where the perpetrator is being protected, and the truth's in plain sight. And no one's saying anything.
People are afraid to say something, but that's okay.
That's what. That's what. Yeah,
there's a lot of us who are willing to stand up and talk about it. So
the rising up's happening, man. It's happening right now.
Well, Donny, I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I know that we're cutting in and out a little bit, so it's probably time for you to go and enjoy a cup of tea and put your feet up and enjoy the rest of the night. I will talk to you really, really soon.
Dee, I love you, man. You're doing wonderful. Love you. God bless you.